I've been fascinated with the accusations from the left that the school districts and governors and mayors choosing to implement certain things like, well, maybe let's do curbside pickup instead of dine-in, or sit 6 feet apart or something like that. They're mad at Trump because Trump didn't make that decision. And if he did, you guys would have called him a tyrant. I've never seen people beg for dictatorship like the left right now with some of this stuff. Yep. Holy cow. That's why you have governors. That's why you have school boards. That's why you have all of these local elections and locally elected positions that are filled every time you have these local elections. You don't need the federal government to take over that supply chain right now. Although I will say that this whole thing has made a most excellent case against socialism. I did a radio interview this morning on my book, Grace Canceled, which is out, and you should go to danalash.com to get it. And the press conference Friday, I thought, was a fantastic, I wrote about this on the website. It was a fantastic counter to all of these socialist offerings from Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders and all of them. And the way that businesses are stepping up to do more expeditiously what the federal government cannot do, that's the perfect representation of a successful partnership between the private sector and between the federal government. Now, there's certain things that the federal government can do as it relates to the supply chain. In fact, one of the things that I have seen, excuse me, as it relates to that is the president looking to incentivize people, companies that will bring back manufacturing to the United States, and so that we can control the supply chain. That's one of the things that's being discussed. The president's going to be speaking today at 2 p.m. I think that's Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, in which case we will take that. And going to get into some of this. The idea that this has to be federalized, you realize that this is one of the problems, right? You realize that this is one of the reasons, the fact that our government's too big the way it is right now. You realize that big government contributed to this problem. If not, could be considered perhaps one of the causes of it. I mean, look at China. Communist China. They had numerous doctors trying to warn people of this back in November, and they were arrested. They had journalists, as I discussed on Friday, that were trying to report on this, and their websites would be taken down. They lied to the world about their numbers, and they hid the genome sequencing from every other country. And in the meantime, they were too preoccupied with getting Taiwan pushed out of the World Health Organization meeting about coronavirus, even though Taiwan is one of the countries most successful at dealing with it. So none of the other countries, China denied every other country that's part of the World Health Organization the ability to learn what Taiwan did that was so effective in terms of containing and containing that virus and keeping the infection rate suppressed. China denied every other country in the world the opportunity to learn about it because they were too butthurt over the fact that they held elections and that they don't consider themselves as part of China, but China does. They've been playing politics with this, and the World Health Organization stupidly goes along with it. Now, that's big government. That's statism. The same sort of statism that Bernie Sanders discusses. Do you see how the hospitals broke down in Italy? Do you see how they've broken down in other countries that have implemented socialism? Okay, their whole political ideologies has already failed repeatedly, and most currently, it's failed this last test. This has been the greatest argument for federalism that we've seen in some time.